You know, I want to know why. Why did you do this to her? I mean, I can't imagine anybody doing that, just killing somebody. I mean, you know, he didn't even know her.
Those are questions for Savannah Spurlock's killer. Spurlock and a friend went out to a bar on the night of January 3rd, 2019. The friend made it home. Spurlock, a mother of 4, did not. Around 2:30 a.m., Spurlock was seen on surveillance video leaving the bar with 3 men, including a man named David Sparks. Not long after, Spurlock had a conversation with her mother. At the time, her mom thought she was intoxicated, but not in distress. Spurlock was never seen or heard from again.
Somebody knows something. Somebody, they'll mess up sooner or later. We'll find out what happened to her. I know it. I know we will.
7 months after Spurlock disappeared, a break in the case. David Sparks' father noticed a foul odor on their property. That odor led police to make this grim discovery.
As a result of the autopsy, we can now confirm that the remains are those of Savannah Spurlock.
It was devastating news to the family.
There are days where it's very, very difficult to not break down. And I have had times throughout these days that I do, because I miss her. I know now that I will never see her on this earth.
Horrible case. Young mom. She's got several children, and you know, David Sparks is the man who committed that murder, and tomorrow is judgment day for him. Earlier, he pleaded guilty in court, admitted to it all. Let's take a look.
You also realize by accepting this offer and entering this plea that you waive your right to the trial, the right to confront the witnesses, and the right to appeal the case.
Yes, sir.
Have you read through and did you understand this waiver of further proceedings with petitioner pleaded guilty? And is that your signature that appears on the 3rd page? Yeah. And did you and Ms. Rowland and or Mr. Myers discuss what was alleged in the indictment and what the Commonwealth would have to prove to convict you of each of these charges? Yeah. Facts alleged here. During the early morning hours of January the 4th, 2019, at 118 Price Court in Garrett County, Kentucky, the defendant, acting alone, intentionally caused the death of Savannah Spurlock. After so doing, he bound her legs and wrapped her body in plastic bags. He later transported her body to 3178 Fall Lick and buried her in the yard behind that residence. He did so with the intent to elude apprehension for the murder and to impair the evidence's availability in any future proceeding pertaining to that crime. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
And that's your signature that appears at the bottom of that form as well?
It is.
You had indicated on your waiver form that you're not on probation or parole or under threat of any other prosecution at this time. Is that right? You realize you are pleading guilty to felony offenses that could be used to enhance the penalty you would receive if you're convicted of others in the future under the penal statute.
Yes, sir.
There was the guilty plea, and he got a deal. He got a deal. Let's bring in Court TV anchor Julie Grant to talk about it. All right, so he gets the deal for 50 years, parole eligibility, I believe, after 20. But tomorrow is sentencing day. Do you think we'll find out exactly how he killed her?
I sure hope so, Vinny. And you're so perceptive, because how she was killed is the one question we don't have an answer to. We know some facts about Savannah Spurlock's death. We know that on January the 4th, she went back to David Sparks's rental property. We do know that blood belonging to her was found in a closet at his rental property. And we know he transported her body, dug a 19-inch grave at his parents' residence. It was his dad smelling a foul smell in the backyard that alerted authorities to it. And when they found her body, she was naked. We know her feet were bound with shipping tape. Behind her body, there was a rug found. That rug came from David Sparks's bedroom. He then replaced the rug with a similar looking one later. But even in that plea agreement, we have the guilty plea order. I want to show it to all of our viewers now. We have this order. This was entered in on December the 1st of 2020. So just recently here, and it lists the charges that he's pleading guilty to. We have murder, and then you see they write 50 years next to that, tampering with physical evidence, 5 years, abuse of a corpse, 12 months, and the agreement is for those lesser charges to run, the sentences to run concurrently with the 50-year sentence, meaning all together. And so you look at that, and then if you go to the next page of this, it lists the facts of the case. But what it doesn't say is how he killed her. It says that he intentionally caused the death of Savannah Spurlock, but doesn't say exactly how. And I wonder if we will find out at the sentencing hearing, Vinny, tomorrow. I know that it's going to be somewhat of a different hearing as we understand it. We've made a lot of calls today, and without a lot of success, it's very hard to get information on this. But I certainly hope that somehow this becomes part of the record so that her family can grieve properly, get closure, and this case can be put to bed, so to speak.
Yeah, it's difficult because, you know, we know her mom spoke out, very heartbroken, but she also has children that are going to grow up without their
Right.
mom now, and that's the other part of this. And you think about sentencing. When we think about sentencing here at Court TV, yeah, you want to know how many years, but the other part of it is we usually hear from the victims and the victim's family to get a better sense of what this really all means, right? I mean, yeah, someone committed a murder, there's a statute and everything else, but it's usually those victim impact statements that get to the heart of the case. Is that going to happen tomorrow?
Shockingly, no. And I wish I had an answer as to why. We don't know why. We tried finding out. All we know is victim impact statements will not happen tomorrow. And my best guess, Vinny, just speaking as a former prosecutor and as someone who's followed this case, as we all have at Court TV, I wonder if this is the family's choosing. I know that our team reached out to Savannah Spurlock's family today, and they are still very, very upset, understandably so, and did not want to speak publicly with us. And we understand that. We want to respect their privacy. And so I'm guessing this is their choice not to give victim impact statements, because that's certainly the time, as you pointed out, that we see victims coming forward and really giving us a true picture of what was lost here. And Savannah Spurlock was a mother to 4 children. She was a daughter. She was someone who was loved by everyone who knew her, and her life was valued. She is missed. She is irreplaceable to all of those people who adored her. And it's my understanding we're not going to hear about her life tomorrow. And hopefully at some point her family will want to share those things with us. I know our viewers want to hear it. We all certainly want to hear it. But tomorrow we don't expect to hear any of that. And the prosecution, we did reach out to the Girard County Prosecutor's Office in Kentucky. They declined to comment at this point. We're going to keep trying with them to try to get more of the answers as to how she was murdered by David Sparks. But all we know right now is he is taking responsibility. He could receive up to life, but we understand that the state, the Commonwealth, I should say, rather, in Kentucky, has agreed to those 50 years.
Yeah, and it's a deal because the parole eligibility will kind of creep in there at 20 years. Now, it doesn't guarantee that he gets it, but, you know, looking ahead as to what life is like for those kids, right, as they grow up. I mean, throughout their lives, this is, from time to time, is going to bubble up. All right, he's got a parole hearing. Okay, the parole board is considering releasing this killer, and the kids are like, wait, are you, what? The man who took my mom's life when I was a little baby, a few weeks after I was born or a month after I was born, is going to get released? What? I mean, I can't imagine what this will be like year after year for these kids. The fact that the deal was given, though, Julie, probably tells me there were probably might have been some evidence issues here. And you had those other people that were, sort of around the case. So they may have had some problems with the case.
Right. That's a really great point. I wonder, perhaps investigators don't even know how exactly she was killed. Maybe he's admitted to guilt and willing to do exactly that, but not willing to go through step by step the steps of the process. So I don't know. And they made the deal, obviously factoring in everything, right? All the evidence made available to them. We know this was a long time in coming. She went missing last January, and it wasn't until 7 months later that her body was discovered. And to your point, Vinny, which is an excellent one about the family, they will be grieving forever. And for those 7 months, they were on pins and needles, hoping, she's going to come home alive, hoping this disappearance was just something that's going to end one day and she's going to walk back in the door and be a mom and a daughter and all of that again. But sadly, that didn't happen. I mean, her body found in such a horrible way, a horrible way for her body to be discovered like that and for her life to come to an end. I mean, she was only 23 years old, had her whole life ahead of her. So sad. And you're right, for her family. I mean, with criminal cases, I think it's easy to lose sight of how the long-term effects really are for families, friends of those who are victims of crimes. And it doesn't all end at the day of sentencing, like tomorrow when he's sentenced. It won't all end for the family. And so certainly we should all be mindful of that in all of these cases.
Absolutely. And this is a case that it's not like, hey, we're throwing him away, we're locking it up and throwing the key away. No, that key is there's going to be parole hearings. There's going to be there's always a huge push to get people released because they're model prisoners. They turn their lives around, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, they killed a young mother. So young, such a loss. Julie Grant, Court TV anchor, appreciate your reporting. Thank you so much.